You were not supposed to be here. Not like this. Not starting over. Not at this age. Not after everything you already built. Not after everything you already gave. You had a plan. Most of us do. We map it out early, sometimes consciously, sometimes just by absorbing what we were shown, what a life is supposed to look like, by a certain age, finished by this point, settled by that one, love figured out by here, career sorted by there, and somewhere along the way, the plan fell apart. Maybe it happened suddenly, a decision, a discovery, a conversation that changed everything in a single afternoon. Maybe it happened slowly, so slowly you almost did not notice, until one day you looked up and realized that the life you were living was not the life you actually wanted. And now you are here. At a beginning you did not choose, or maybe one you did choose, which somehow feels even harder to explain to the people around you, because starting over looks different from the inside than it does from the outside. From the outside, it can look like failure, like giving up, like throwing away something that should have been kept, like a step backward in a world that only celebrates steps forward. From the inside, from where you are standing right now, it feels like something else entirely. It feels like the most terrifying, most necessary, most honest thing you have ever done. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about what it actually means to start over. Not the motivational poster version, not the everything happens for a reason version, the real version, the one that includes the grief and the shame and the fear and the exhaustion of beginning again when you thought you were already supposed to be done. Because starting over is not just a new beginning, it is also an ending, and endings are allowed to hurt. Whatever you are leaving behind, a relationship, a career, a version of yourself, a life that looked right from the outside, but felt wrong from the inside, you are allowed to grieve it, even if it was the right decision, even if you made the choice yourself. Even if staying would have been worse. Grief does not only come when something bad ends. Grief comes when anything ends, when something that held a piece of your life, your time, your hope, your identity, is no longer there. And that grief is real. It does not cancel out the rightness of your decision. It does not mean you made a mistake. It just means that what you left behind mattered. And things that matter are allowed to be mourned. So if you are somewhere in the grief of it right now, if you are in that strange, disorienting space where the old life is gone and the new one has not yet taken shape, I want you to know that this space is real. It has a name. It is called the in-between, and it is one of the hardest places to live because the in-between has no landmarks, no familiar routines, no certainty about what comes next, just you, standing in the gap between who you were and who you are becoming. And the world does not make it easy. The world has very specific ideas about when things are supposed to happen, about what order life should go in, about what it means to be a woman of a certain age who is starting something new, instead of maintaining something established. People will ask questions that are really judgments. They will say things that are really doubts dressed up as concern. They will look at you with that particular kind of pity. That feels worse than criticism, because at least criticism takes you seriously. And the hardest part is that sometimes the loudest version of those voices is not coming from anyone around you. It is coming from inside you. The voice that says, "It is too late. You should have done this sooner. You wasted too many years." Other people your age are settled. Other people your age have already figured this out. What made you think you could start again now? That voice is not the truth. That voice is fear, and fear has never been a reliable narrator. Let me tell you something about starting over that nobody puts on the motivational posters. Starting over takes more courage than staying ever did. Staying is familiar. Staying is known. Staying has the comfort of routine, even when the routine is making you miserable. Staying lets you tell yourself that things might still change without having to be the one to change them. Starting over requires you to walk away from all of that, to choose the unknown over the familiar, to choose the discomfort of becoming over the comfort of remaining. That is not weakness. That is one of the most difficult things a human being can do. And yet we treat it like failure. We treat the person who left like she gave up, like she could not handle it, like she took the easy way out. There is nothing easy about starting over. Ask anyone who has done it. Ask the woman who left a marriage at 40 and had to learn who she was without someone else defining her. Ask the woman who walked away from a career she had spent 15 years building because she woke up one morning and realized she had been living someone else's dream. Ask the woman who moved to a new city alone at an age when everyone around her was already rooted. Ask the woman who went back to school when her children were older than some of her classmates. None of them took the easy way. All of them chose the brave way, and here is what they will tell you. Every single one of them, if you ask them honestly, they will tell you that the fear was real. They will tell you that there were nights when they wondered if they had made a terrible mistake, when they missed the familiar, even though the familiar was hurting them, when they wanted to go back, not because going back was right, but because going back was known. And they will also tell you this, that they did not go back, that they stayed in the in-between long enough for something new to form, that they gave themselves permission to be a beginner in a season of life when they thought they should be an expert, and that the life that grew from that beginning, the life that was built after the starting over, was more theirs than anything that came before it, because that is what starting over gives you, that staying never could. A life that is actually yours, not the life that was handed to you, not the life that was expected of you, not the life that looked right from the outside and felt wrong from the inside, but a life built from your own choices, your own values, your own understanding of who you are and what you actually need, and what you are no longer willing to live without. That kind of life does not come from staying comfortable. It comes from being willing to begin again. And it is never too late to begin. I want to say that again, because I know there is a part of you that needs to hear it more than once. It is never too late to begin. Not at 30, not at 40, not at 50 or 60 or beyond. There is no age at which your life stops being yours to shape. There is no point at which the window closes and the chance is gone, and all that is left is to maintain whatever you have already built. Life does not work that way. You do not work that way. You are not a finished thing. You are not a completed project. You are a living, breathing, changing human being who is allowed to grow in directions that the earlier version of you could not have predicted. The woman you are today is not the same woman you were 10 years ago. She has seen more. She has survived more. She understands things now that the earlier version of her did not have the experience to understand. And that woman, the one you are right now, with everything she has been through, everything she has learned, everything she has lost and kept and rebuilt, that woman is not starting over from zero. She is starting over from wisdom. There is a difference, and it is everything. When you start over at 20, you are beginning with hope. When you start over later, whenever your later is, you are beginning with something deeper than hope. You are beginning with knowledge. Knowledge of what you can survive. Knowledge of what you will not settle for again. Knowledge of what actually matters to you versus what you were told should matter. Knowledge of your own resilience, the kind that only comes from having been tested. That is not nothing. That is not starting from scratch. That is starting from a foundation that took years to build and cannot be taken from you. So when the voice inside you says, "It is too late," I want you to answer it, not with argument, not with a list of reasons it is wrong, just with a question. Too late for what, exactly? Too late to be happy? Too late to try something new? Too late to build something that actually fits you? Too late to become someone you actually recognize? Because if that is what too late means, then too late is not a real thing. It is just fear, wearing the costume of practicality. And you have listened to that fear for long enough. You are allowed to put it down now. You are allowed to look at the beginning in front of you, however uncertain, however unfamiliar, however different from what you planned, and choose it, not because it is easy, not because you are not scared, not because you know how it is going to turn out, but because the alternative, staying in a life that no longer fits, because you are afraid of what starting over means, is a cost you can no longer afford to pay. And deep down, you already know that. That is why you are here. That is why this found you. Because some part of you, some quiet, persistent, brave part of you, is already leaning toward the beginning. Trust that part. She has been trying to get your attention for a long time. She is not asking you to have it all figured out. She is not asking you to know exactly where you are going. She is just asking you to take one step, one honest step in the direction of the life that actually belongs to you. That is all a beginning ever is. One step, and then another, and then another. You do not have to see the whole path. You just have to be willing to walk. Gentle pause. Music fades slightly. If this found you today, if you are somewhere in the middle of a beginning, that feels more like a loss than a launch. I want you to know something. The fact that you are still here, still trying, still choosing, still refusing to let the fear be the final word. That is not nothing. That is everything. Starting over is not giving up on your life. It is finally deciding to live it. And you are already doing that. Just by being here, just by being willing to hear this, just by choosing one more time to keep going, you are not behind. You are not too late. You are exactly where a beginning starts. Right here, right now, with everything you are, and everything you have survived, and everything you are still becoming. This is not your failure. This is your beginning, and it is right on time.